You're listening to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for and by Rockies fans on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Thank you for joining us as we discuss all things baseball and Colorado Rockies. Hello and welcome to Affected by Altitude, the Colorado Rockies podcast on Rocky Mountain Rooftop, a proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. I am your host, Evan Lang, and with me, as always, a victim of terminal corrosion, Skyler Timmons.
It's true. My car is 21 years old and it has battery corrosion.
Check your batteries for corrosion, folks. Legitimately, you might end up stuck somewhere.
It's true. And it's an easy process to just swap out some stuff if you need to.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Always keep an eye out for your batteries. I had an incident the other day where I'm leaving my day job and I walk up to my car and I get in, like all the electronics are working, open the door, unlock, get in, and no start, nothing. And I was like, whoa. Eventually was able to get a jump, and then I realized it was my own dang fault. I had somehow turned one of the cabin lights on, and they're not that bright, and I don't do a ton of driving at night right now, so I just never noticed it was on, and it drained my battery.
Ugh.
What is the point of cabin lights?
So you can see inside the car.
Yeah, when it's like dark.
Mm-hmm.
But my phone has a flashlight.
And your car has cabin lights.
Touche. This is the kind of things we talk about when the Colorado Rockies baseball season is over and done with.
We'll just turn into one of those dads on TikTok where they're just doing like, hey, here's some dad advice. Check your batteries.
Remember that laminate flooring needs regular upkeep. Otherwise, it will lose its sheen.
Mm-hmm. Be sure to turn off any outside faucets here in the cold weather.
If you haven't had your sprinkler system blown out yet, the clock is ticking on doing so. I know it's warm right now, but that cold winter weather is going to be on you like that.
We're getting very close into turning into George Lucas once again with these interpretations.
It seems like they always end up like, well, I gotta tell you, you just need to make sure that your windows are sealed properly. Otherwise, you're just letting all the hot air out, and you're not doing a very efficient job at heating your home during those cold winter months.
You're just letting money escape you.
Like I let money escape when I didn't make the entire trilogy about Jar Jar Binks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, baseball, Rockies. Now what? The season's over. It wasn't a good one. We find ourselves sitting and waiting for pretty much anything at this point. My first question is if you think there is going to be a end of season letter from owner Dick Monfort, something we did not get last year. After the first 100 loss season, it was combined into that weird press release thing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, the public didn't get one. Random PR did. So those that our folks over at Purple Row, those who are on the Rockies PR email list, got the letter thingy where it's just general, business speak in newsletter form. Maybe some blurbs in there from Dick Monfort himself, but a whole lot of nothing. And so, yeah, I think that's a big question where we've gotten accustomed to Rockies don't really have an end of season press conference, so to speak, like and actually get in front of people and speak. They'll maybe Bill Smith will do something talking to Thomas Harding, or we'll have a scrum in the dugout. But that's different than setting up an actual press conference and have live streaming it or whatever. We haven't done that for quite a few years, I think now. It's not since like 2019, it feels like an end of season thing.
The very last time I feel like we had a genuine sort of post-mortem was the end of the 2021 season.
Did we?
Where we had any kind of press conference from Dick Monfort at all.
Yeah, I don't know. See, that's the problem where we can't even pinpoint when the last one was.
Yeah, that tells you a lot of this organization. We've spoken about it before. This organization gets quieter and quieter and more insular as the negative accolades sort of stack up. And it does go back to the Nolan Arenado trade. But then as the team's gotten worse and worse, we really don't hear from Dick.
Yeah.
He, like we said before, he'll come out and say something at some variety of luncheon before preseason starts. But outside of that, not really.
And he didn't even do that this year.
No, he had something, I thought.
No, we never heard anything.
What was the one where he came out and said, I think this can be a competitive team. I think we can play 500 ball. That was last year.
That was 2023.
Oh, they're all starting to blur together.
Yeah, we didn't hear anything this year.
And the only time we really saw Dick come out and do anything was the last day of the season, Charlie Blackmon Day.
And boy, did he get booed.
He really did. It's funny. He really wasn't around for the Todd Helton Day, but then he was there on the field for, like, he was kind of around with it. Like, they didn't introduce him. He didn't speak, none of that. But then he was there on the field and they said, and here's Rockies CEO and chairman, Dick Monfort. And yeah, there was a lot of booing. And that was basically the only time I've really seen him this season. He's been scarce.
Which can be a good thing. He's probably just not as scarce in the places he should be.
Baseball operations. And it goes without saying that as all of the other, non-competitive teams this year, the non-playoff teams, their seasons are also done. We're seeing a lot of moves get made. The Twins just fired their GM.
Well, he resigned.
Thad Levine?
Yeah, he resigned.
What's his name? Farhan Zaidi of the Giants is out.
Yeah, he got fired.
The Marlins basically fired every single person that works for that team, from like the cafeteria staff up to baseball operations. Like that organization is just a hot mess.
Yeah, and that's a problem with ownership there. We think the Rockies have it bad. Marlins have a even more clueless owner.
And they've had just a succession of terrible ownership. I feel for Marlins fans, but not that much, because they've won 2 World Series at least. And we don't have diddly. But Skip Schumacher, the manager of the Marlins, was fired. David Bell, the manager of the Reds, was fired and replaced very strangely by Terry Francona. Not a whole lot of people saw that coming. But yeah, all these non-competitive teams, all the teams that are out of the playoffs are starting to shake things up. And we heard them starting to shake things up as soon as the last week of the season, where we had like some interim managers playing. And for the Rockies, since the end of the regular season, it has been complete radio silence. We have got nothing. And the big thing that we're all waiting on is, of course, the fate of Bud Black.
Yeah, it's because you can see throughout the season, guys that lost Mariners dropped Scott Service during the season, underperformance with the team and just wanting to shake things up, wanting a new voice. You see the Reds wanting a new voice to swap up that roster. So they bring in, hey, not surprising that they bring back Tito, because you couldn't keep him away from the game for long. Legendary manager. Seems like he's healthy and everything too. So back in the manager's chair, he's a good guy. But then White Sox, with their disastrous season, fired their manager partway through the season and gave Grady Sizemore a chance to manage. Across the league, we're seeing those teams that fell short of expectations swap out, or guys that have been in place for a while, saying, okay, but we want it. We're going to try something new here. We want a new voice, a new direction. And I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe some more firings or other things across the league. Was Ollie Marmol's job with the Cardinals actually safe, like they say? Who knows? So you're seeing that trend across the league of, okay, there's a changing of the guard in a lot of places, because what is the definition of insanity, Evan?
Watching the Colorado Rockies for 162 games in a season.
More or less, of doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And the Rockies have had Bud Black in the manager's seat for 8 years now, heading into what would be his 9th year. That's a lot of losing, and he's been there for a while now. Longest tenured manager, most winningest manager, also the most losingest. There needs to be a change, and so everybody's kind of sitting with bated breath of like, do the Rockies kind of signal towards doing something new, or is it just going to be, all right, let's run it back again because nobody's as good for this job as Bud Black?
Yeah, and the way I look at it, right now, I feel like it's a 50-50 shot with all the radio silence of Bud is gone or Bud is not gone next year. Patrick Saunders of the Denver Post put out a mailbag recently answering reader questions, and some of the things he said about the team, about Bud Black, is standing out to me here, that thinks that there might be a chance of Bud Black moving on. For example, Black is usually very open with me about most things regarding the team, but he's been elusive about his future with Colorado. Perhaps a shakeup is in store for the staff and front office, which could be a part of the reason for the delay. Also said regarding Black's status, a couple of people close to the manager have told me that Black expects to return. However, the fact that the Rockies are delaying on an announcement, as well as Black's reluctance to talk about the situation, makes me wonder if he is coming back. And then finally, I have talked to several veteran players about Black's future. They told me that Black still has the players' respect and is well liked. However, a couple of other players told me that a new fresh voice would be good for the team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just sort of all over the place. And part of me, we were talking about this a little bit in our writer's room. Part of me is wondering if they delayed it a little bit so it didn't take the spotlight away from it being Charlie Blackmon's retirement, and put a little space between that. Part of me is also wondering if maybe they are delaying while they do things like exit interviews and cleaning out the clubhouse and doing general non-player season wrap-up before they make a final decision and come out and say, Bud Black is no longer returning.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces behind the scenes we don't know about. I also wonder if, remember when MLB was like, okay, don't make any announcements during the postseason? You remember when that kind of used to be a thing?
Yeah.
Like, wait until after the season to announce, your manager changes, all that stuff. No, you can do your stuff, but don't announce anything until after the World Series is done. I remember that used to be a thing, and that feels like something the Rockies would still adhere to. We're like, oh, no, we don't. Nobody's going to pay attention. No, they don't want us to do this, but that's probably not the case. But I remember those days. So, yeah, it's wondering, well, when are they going to do something? I could see them waiting that week. Yeah, they don't want to take away Charlie's thunder and, overshadow it with anything. But then it just kind of kicks off the offseason like, okay, when are you going to tell us something? And that's what this team's awful at, is where we hardly ever hear anything. Maybe they'll sneak it in somewhere or just not acknowledge it at all. And we'll get to spring training and all of a sudden there's a new manager. And we're like, wait, what? What happened to Bud Black?
Who's this guy?
Who's this guy? No, this is Mud White. You're like, oh, it's just Bud Black with a mustache.
Big Groucho Marx glasses.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see when they actually do announce anything. And it could be that thing where we've talked about before, where there could be even that split in the front office where maybe it's Dick Monfort wanting to keep Bud Black, or doesn't want to break that bad news to somebody he cares about and doesn't want to hurt them, or because they're his family and doesn't want anybody to hate him. But then you could also have Bill Schmidt, or even vice versa. Who knows?
But at the same
I
time,
want to bring in my own guy. We need something new, and fighting for that. And so maybe there's still that struggle in the front office and them trying to work with Bud and figure something out. Who knows?
See, I feel like Bill Schmidt, if anything, this is his time to go. You look at some of the trades I've made, look at some of the things I've done and people I've drafted, and you can see that my vision has promise. You need to let me cook. Like, finally leverage what he has done to get a little bit of power, because it has really felt throughout a lot of his tenure as the general manager since being named in a replacement of Jeff Bridich, that Bill Schmidt doesn't actually have that much power. The Chris Bryant signing reeks of Dick Monfort going, well, that's a guy that's going to put butts in seats, and he's so popular. The reluctance to sell, all sorts of things like that. It's sort of all over the map. But at the same time, if I ran a baseball team, if I was in charge, the ideal moment to have announced that they were making a managerial change probably would have been yesterday, Friday, where there were no baseball games going on.
Yeah.
Right before the division series round of the playoffs, and just come out and say, enough time has passed. It's been about a week since the final game of the season. Here's where we are going. Here is a little bit of our vision for the offseason as we head towards things like winter meetings and all of that stuff. And it's just, at the very least, I'm surprised because, Arizona Fall League starts here in just a couple days, and it's been just complete radio silence.
And it could be the thing where they're going to treat it where it's not officially the off season yet. No, the postseason's still happening. Once the World Series is done, then we'll start announcing and start making moves and go into full off season mode. Right now, I wouldn't be surprised if people are just taking vacations and taking a little break from the rigors of the 162 game season, taking a break for a couple weeks or something. Who knows? Go hunting. I don't care what they do.
See, but I would never do that with a manager whose job is in question, of like, go on vacation and think about whether or not you're going to have a job when you come back.
Right. He's under employment for a couple of weeks. They don't owe him anything right now. I don't know. It's probably us just beating our head against the wall. No point, I guess, stressing and losing sleep over it. Of when are they going to make a decision? Like, it'll come when it comes. We'll be disappointed one way or another.
I mean, maybe we won't be disappointed. There's a 6.25% chance that the Rockies could do something smart this offseason. It's not a big chance, but
who knows? Yeah, it's nothing worth losing sleep over, but I think it's the not knowing and waiting that gets us every offseason of do something. Trade deadline's always the same. Or like do something, and then they don't do anything. And then you're just like, why didn't you do anything?
It's just aggravated because in this circumstance, they have to do something. There's no extension to fall back on and just say, oh, we'll wait till next year. You've either got to extend Buddy or you don't.
Well, it even could be a standoff where they're waiting for Bud Black to announce that he'll make the decision that he's not coming back. But if there's an instance where he wants to stay, it's them trying to maybe negotiate that, figure out something, and then the ball's in their court. But maybe they want to leave it in his hands because that's what it's kind of always seemed like, a rolling year-to-year handshake agreement. And at this point, they're just kind of waiting for him. Who knows?
But then, if that is the case, then where is he going to? I don't see Bud logging on to Twitter and going, I'm announcing that I'm not returning as the manager for the Rockies.
It would come through Thomas Harding.
So I guess we continue to wait because it's going to be a long off season. But I feel like before anything happens, before we can speculate on what players are returning, what potential moves are going to be made, we've got to know what the future is in the manager's seat.
Yeah, like you need the captain of the ship first before you start getting the rest of the crew. And like, you can start doing stuff, but it's best to maybe have a guy in there who can be part of that process and having his say of how he thinks the roster should be constructed, just be in on the plan with Bill Schmidt and company.
I think at the very latest, they've got to have a decision made by the non-tendering deadline and the Rule 5 draft deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are big decisions for, whoever is assuming control of the team. If a brand new guy is coming in and goes, I don't want you, and they're all non-tendered, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
But all we can do is sort of, sit around and wait and see. And while we wait and see, one of the most exciting times of the baseball season is upon us. So stick around and we will talk about playoff baseball right after this break. Welcome back to Affected by Altitude. Thank you so much for sticking with us. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and that is if you are a fan of, good baseball teams, playoff baseball.
If
And if
you're
you're a fan of
fans of 3 of the AL Central teams,
if you're a fan of rivalry matchups, what a wild division series slate where 3 of the 4 division series are all interdivision rivalry matchups.
nice.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, and if you're a fan of bad baseball teams like, say, the Rockies, this is your chance to see some real gosh darn quality baseball getting played in October, something we haven't seen in a while.
Well, that and you can look across the board of who got into the postseason, but specifically, the teams that are finding success or at least moved on through the wild card round into the division series, which is just started on day of recording on Saturday. Round of first games playing for people. But 2 teams, I think that's the big story here to talk about. The Detroit Tigers going in, sweeping through the Astros, and the Kansas City Royals sweeping through the Orioles, both of them to advance into the division series. They're the underdogs here in the postseason, and really cool to see them and their stories and them finding the success so far this year.
Yeah, two teams, and in the playoffs this year, there were 3 teams, all with recent 100 plus loss seasons, who are now in the playoffs. And some of them, it was a little bit of a surprise that they got there, especially the long beleaguered Detroit Tigers, who had a very difficult start to the season, who just went on an absolute tear at the end of the year and made it into the playoffs. And yeah, they got kind of kicked around by Cleveland today, but they're still there, and it's still a best of 5 series. Meanwhile, you've got the Kansas City Royals, who lost 106 games last year. This year decided, you know what? Enough of that. Had enough rookie talent to combine with some big veteran splashes in free agency. Guys like Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo on the pitching staff, and rode it to a winning season. Swept the Baltimore Orioles in the wild card round, and are about to, time of recording, start a game against the New York Yankees in the ALDS. And you look and you go, I don't know if my team can do that. And that kind of stinks. But at the same time, it's nice to know that it is a possibility that you can lose 100 plus games and still turn things around at some point.
Well, if you look at the Royals, I think they're the closest example of what a lot of Rockies fans point to, but I could also point to the Tigers. I'll get to that in a second. But like the Royals, it wasn't that they went out and got a bunch of big name stars. They invested in pitching, like heavily invested in pitching. They have a lot of homegrown and cheap veterans that were supplemental to help the roster. It helps when you have an MVP candidate in Bobby Witt Jr., generational talent, but the Rockies have some of that kind of talent. But they heavily invested in their pitching. They said, hey, we see a chance to win in this division. Let's go drop $100 million this offseason in Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, a lot of pitching and whatnot to help boost their roster. And then we're going to have our really good pitching development staff, coaching staff, enhance that pitching. Seth Lugo is going to be he's a Cy Young candidate. Cole Reagans, oh man, what a steal for a Aroldis Chapman, for a legit ace. Not too shabby.
When Aroldis Chapman wasn't even that good in the playoffs last year for the Rangers.
Yeah.
And then he turns around and just has this crazy season. And you look at this pitching staff, and you look at the top 12 players by wins above replacement on Baseball Reference. And yeah, at the top is obviously Bobby Witt Jr. He's incredible, and it always helps to have a superstar that you can build a team around.
Mm-hmm.
But almost all of these other, well, not almost all, but a bunch of these guys in the top 12, Seth Lugo, 5.3, Cole Reagans, 4.9, Michael Wacha, 3.5. And then you've got Michael Lorenzen, who was acquired via trade and still turned up 1.2. And then it's a really good pitching staff around a quality, a young core where a bunch of their players are under 26 years old. The oldest guy on their team is Salvador Perez, who is still putting up very quality numbers in his age 34 season, 2.6 wins above replacement. But, their primary starting lineup this year, Vinny Pasquantino is 26, Michael Massey is 26, Bobby Witt Jr. is 24, Michael Garcia is 24. You just look at all these guys, and it's a solid young team that they are building around a superstar and a strong pitching staff, and then quality support players. Like, who's had a pretty okay season this year with the Royals in a bench role and utility capacity is Garrett Hampson. Like, not an incredible season by any stretch of the term, but he did his job.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's playing in the playoffs.
For the second straight year.
That's right, because he was with the Marlins last year.
Yeah, it's nothing crazy, but it's a nice team effort. You can tell those guys like hanging out with each other. They really play for the team. I think so. It's really cool with the Royals. And then I think more so the Rockies could try and draw some parallels with the Tigers as well, where the Tigers are, in a way, who the Rockies always think they are, where it's a ton of really homegrown guys or guys acquired via trades and other things. Not a lot of notable names, a lot of younger guys. Position player-wise, they had a terrible veteran on an awful contract in Javier Baez, but the team really took off once he got injured and he wasn't playing anymore. And so they're able to take his black hole of a swing out of the lineup, and all of a sudden they start playing better and better with younger players, more talented, who aren't making the bank, but they're playing better than Javi Baez ever is. And that really helped them. And it helps when you have you have the Cy Young leading your staff. But Evan, this was a team that sold at the deadline.
Yeah, they were not looking like they were going to be contenders at the end of the first half, and they just went on this absolute surge that, in a way, reminds me of our beloved Rocktober 2007 Rockies, of just finishing the season incredibly strong, just squeaking in the wild card, and then pushing forward from there. And it's funny, like you said, they've actually really thin in the pitching rotation, which again is another parallel with the Rockies, but they have a legitimate Cy Young contender. I mean, he's going to win the Cy Young, Terry Skubal, but they've also got their own 2016 Cub, who's been absolutely atrocious. I would argue worse, honestly, than Chris Bryant in terms of on-field performance. Bryant's been worse because of injuries, but Javi Baez, when he has been on the field, has been awful.
Bigger sample size of him being awful.
He had 272 at-bats this season and was worth negative 1.1 wins above replacement, hit 184, had an on-base percentage of only 221 and a slugging percentage of 294. He was statistically one of the worst players in baseball when he was on the field.
Yeah.
And once he was gone, it opened up playing time for other guys, and now it's been really interesting. They've called up some rookies. They have a bunch of really interesting homegrown rookies, including guys like Colt Keith and Riley Green, both of whom are absolutely awesome. And their bullpen is, for the most part, a legitimate strength. Like, there is, but that's what's so frustrating is there's been a roadmap from 100 losses to successful team for a bunch of different teams that the Rockies could have taken inspiration from. We know that they can't go the Texas Rangers route, which is spend a boatload of money on guys like Corey Seager, Marcus Semien. That was never going to happen. But you've got the Diamondbacks, who they unfortunately missed out on the playoffs, but they had a pretty strong second half, but it was just their first half was really pretty poor, and Corbin Carroll started poorly. They had a bunch of injuries to their pitching staff. The Baltimore Orioles, the Tigers, and the Royals all started by building around a very strong homegrown core and then supplementing that with smart free agent decisions.
Yeah. Free agent decisions, trades, What was it? The Tigers didn't have a single free agent on their wild card roster. So like on their 26-man roster, they didn't have any free agent on the wild card roster. They left off Kenta Maeda. No, they left off a bunch of guys because they were going with the homegrown crew that was doing work, getting it done. Guys that were homegrown or just acquired via trade or waiver claims or other means. There is a pathway. I think that's what's nice with baseball is there's so many different paths to success if you're willing to commit to those paths. The Tigers didn't spend a bunch, or they decided to trade and then rely on the homegrown guys. Royals decided to spend a bunch of money to bolster an already growing core. Look where it's at for them now. The Orioles, oh man, what a shame I feel like we should talk about the Orioles now. But I'll finish this quick thought. There is, like you said, a path for the Rockies. You can look across the postseason teams and the different ways they got there. The Rockies could pick any of those avenues and try to pursue. And for some reason, they just decide to just still stick to their own way of thinking, and it hasn't gotten them anywhere.
Yeah. And the Orioles, man, the Orioles were a team that tanked, and I just like tanking, but they took the draft picks that they got from that and they nailed every single one of them. Like, it's one thing to tank and accumulate all of these draft picks. It's another thing and an exceedingly rare thing to nail as many of them as the Orioles did. I mean, you can look at other teams that have tanked in sports history, the Cleveland Browns, the Philadelphia 76ers, who they flopped on a lot of those accumulated draft picks. And the Orioles instead turn around and were awesome with it. And for them now, they've made the postseason 2 years in a row. For them now, and I've seen this sentiment from their clubhouse and from their front office, the honeymoon phase is over. They were swept out of the playoffs by the Royals, and now it's all right. Now we need postseason success. Honeymoon's over. It is now an expectation that we are in the postseason, and we've got to make it farther than the wild card, further than the division series. It's champion or bust, baby.
Yeah, no, they had an absolutely awful second half. Just ran out of steam. They tanked hard, despite excellent years from Gunnar Henderson, and Anthony Santander had a great year.
Potential rookie of the year, Colton Cowser.
Yeah, Colton Cowser. Jackson Holliday got his feet wet, started to find his rhythm a little bit. But Adley Rutschman didn't have a great year, kind of struggled a little bit. Still good year, but definitely a down year for him. But yeah, you look at them, they struggled in that pitching rotation. They were hit hard by injuries on their arms. And so Corbin Burns, another solid year for him, but he's going to be a free agent now. And then you just had a lot of other injuries and inconsistencies. And then the bullpen, Craig Kimbrell was terrible all year. Or he was good for the first bit of the year, and then he just tanked downhill since like June, where they then kicked him off the roster.
It was legitimately shocking how long they kept him on the roster because he was bad. And he's been not great for the last couple seasons, but he was flat out bad during his tenure with Baltimore.
Yeah.
And, again, the pitching injuries, Cole Irvin, I believe, got booted from the team at some point. Grayson Rodriguez was shut down with injury. And, parts of the bullpen also, had some struggles. But it's definitely an underperforming season because, Adley Rutschman was still worth 3.4 wins above replacement despite having a down year. Really, it's in the second half where he sort of started to fall apart. But then you've got other guys like, you got Anthony Santander, Tony Taters had a really, really good season. Cedric Mullins had a solid season. This is a good team that just faltered down the stretch and into the playoffs. And you can't do that next year. Next year, you've got to turn in a complete performance and say, our goal is win the World Series.
Yeah, and they honestly are in a place to do exactly like what the Royals did, where, they're going to probably be focused on extending some guys, locking up maybe some of these players, They want to figure out what to do. Who knows what happens with Santander? It seems like he doesn't know if he's going to be back next year. But they have that opportunity now to hopefully get further into the playoffs. Of the Orioles have to spend some money. They can't, like you said, they're out of that honeymoon phase. They have a core there. It's then you then supplement that core with legit dudes or guys that can really contribute. So just like when they brought in Corbin Burns this year, it was like, all right, the O's are doing it. They're going all, oh, never mind. That's all they're doing. They got Corbin Burns in a trade. That's great. But like, they need to, one, replace him, but they got to boost up that starting rotation, add some other guys across where they can, supplement. That's where then free agency comes in, where you're a homegrown team, and then you bring in the supplemental pieces. That's a key to success.
And they've got the money to do it. That's the thing. All of these teams now have the money to supplement. And like you briefly mentioned the lack of free agents for the most part on the Tigers wildcard team. The Tigers 26-man roster for the wildcard matchup was only worth a combined $19 million in payroll.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you can succeed with homegrown rosters, but you've got to make these smart supplements. And the Rockies, they've got part of it right. They're trying to home grow their roster, but then they just make these really boneheaded free agency decisions. And the Tigers are not immune from that. They signed Javi Baez.
So we could do is laugh at that one. But
man, those 2016 Cubs, it was it's him, it's Rizzo, and it's Bryant, where like the three superstars from that team just have really kind of flamed out.
Meanwhile, Kyle Schwarber's just living his best life over there with the Phillies.
Yeah, Dong City over there. Yeah. Cracked a home run to kick off the Phillies-Mets game today. And again, I said it earlier, but how cool is it that 3 of the 4 matchups are interdivision rivalries? You've got the Mets and the Phillies, you've got the Dodgers and the Padres, and you've got the Tigers and the Guardians. That's fun. Like I am really happy with everybody who made the playoffs last year. And you've got, I admit it, having your billion-dollar superstar packed old money teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees there as your villains versus all the other guys.
Yeah,
it does make it more fun. And don't get me wrong, don't like the Yankees, despise the Dodgers, but their presence in this playoffs does make it a little bit more fun.
Until MLB rigs it so then it's the Yankees-Dodgers World Series.
Oh, well, that's the worst case scenario.
Shohei has to get his ring.
I know they're making a big deal of like it's Shohei Ohtani's playoff debut, and it's like it's a bunch of other guys' playoff debuts too. You gonna talk about them?
But we haven't even we didn't even touch the National League, but there's not much to say there. We're like, we see these guys too often.
Lots of former Rockies on these teams. You got Adam Ottavino with the Mets. On the Phillies, Carlos Estevez and Jeff Hoffman. On the Padres, you have Elias Diaz and Jurickson Profar.
Don't forget Jose Iglesias with the Mets.
Oh, that's right. And Nick Mears was in with the Brewers. Actually had a really nice inning in that last game of the Mets-Brewers series. Unfortunately, the Brewers were knocked out by the Mets, and a absolutely heartbreaking, devastating, well-timed home run by Pete Alonso. Like that home run sucked the air out of that ballpark because it was the top of the 9th. The Brewers are up, and you can start to feel it nibble, but they're still like the fans are in this. We've got this. We just got to get it done. Pete Alonso's been terrible for the last couple of weeks and hasn't been good in these playoffs. And just like that,
anything can happen.
That's baseball, baby.
Yeah. What did you think about that, Bud Black?
That happens. That's baseball.
Wise words, Mr. Manager. For
truer words have never been spoken.
Who you got? Who do you want to win the World Series out of the teams left?
Tigers.
El Tigres.
I have a lot of friends who are Tigers fans, and I feel like I can identify with them the best. They are a team and a fan base that has suffered as we have.
It was of their own making, though.
So is ours.
Yeah, but they closed their window of contention so quickly. They wasted the years of Miggy.
They tried though. Like
Yeah.
those early 2010s Tigers teams where
where they actually
Mr.
went to
I
the playoffs.
before he died was just dumping cash into the team. And that's very similar to Peter Seidler of the Padres of I want to get us there. And unfortunately, neither of them were able to see it come to fruition. But I don't know. It's been fun. My ideal World Series is Mets Tigers. How about you?
Anybody but the Yankees. So I'm fine with any of those AL Centrals. Maybe a little more inclined towards like the Guardians or the Royals, just because I feel like I can identify with them. Just those small town, smaller market teams that haven't had a ton of success over their histories, or at least within this century, in the 21st century. And then it's the hard part with the National League where I don't like any of the teams usually. It's like if I had to pick like the Phillies, but like the Phillies or the Mets because I can't bring myself to root for another National League West team.
No, I very explicitly cannot root for the Padres because if the Rockies end up being the only team in the NL West without a ring, I will be unhappy.
Yeah. So yeah, like I would be okay with the Mets. Just they're trying.
It's all about the Mets, baby. Let's go Mets,
Let's
baby.
go the Mets. It's not about the money, Spider-Man. It's about the Mets. Let's go, baby. The Mets hit a home run. Yeah, either them or I like the Phillies. They're all right.
It would be cool to see, Jeff Hoffman and I'm happy seeing pretty much any former Rocky get a ring except for Jurickson Profar.
But it's like because the Phillies have been so close these last couple of years, where it's like they feel like they're due, and like because it's the same thing with like Shohei getting there. It's like Bryce Harper. I hated him at the start, but then over the years, like as we've both matured, where like even he's had his struggles and he's kind of like, he's lived up to his expectation. Then he's just settled into nice, solid player, superstar. It's like I've grown to respect him, or at least improve my opinion of him. Whereas like I would be okay. Like he deserves one. He deserves a ring.
He is a compelling player.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like I can also root for the Guardians because Stephen Vogt as a first-year manager has done impressive things with that team.
Mm-hmm. And Jose Ramirez, another one of those guys. Like
there's a guy who deserves a ring. Like that's a Hall of Famer right there.
Mm-hmm.
But
just anybody but the Yankees and Dodgers.
Anybody. I would have rooted for the Astros before I rooted for the Yankees and the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to take one more quick break, and when we come back, we have some more speculation about the future and a little game to play. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Affected by Altitude with Evan and Skyler. And Skyler, you prepared for us a little game to play.
Yes. Here we go. Share that tab. We're gonna. Well, we're figuring out we wait for a coaching staff and everything. We're like, well, what can we do? Well, let's make our own dream coaching staff. And then we're like, well, let's do it out of former Rockies. And to just add some sort of fantasy draft element to it, we're like, let's make a spin wheel and fill out a coaching staff with position players, former Rockies. And just, we have this spin wheel for our audio listeners. A spin wheel, it has each position. So catcher, first base, second base, third base, shortstop, outfield, and then pitchers. And we'll spin the wheel. We'll start with what should we start with? Work from our bottom up, from like third base coach up to manager or something like that.
So let's first name out all the coaches that we need.
Yeah. So we're just going to go classic staff. We'll go manager. We'll have a bench coach, a pitching coach, a bullpen coach, and then a first base coach, and then a third base coach, and then I added on just a general, another assistant coach. Think your Vinny Castillas, or just guys that can be there in the clubhouse. They could help with anything specific that you want. So it could be like, oh, I want this guy to be a specific catching coach, or I want an extra hitting coach, or here's another pitcher that I want working on the team. Stuff like that, if that makes sense.
So we'll call that our wild card coach, where it is either an assistant or special assistant or other role that you want to think of.
Yeah.
But you have that one slot.
Mm-hmm.
And we figure we'll build it from former Rockies because the Rockies love that. It's all about hiring from within and working with nostalgia, baby.
Mm-hmm. That's all we know. All right. So our first one. Now, are we doing it where we're both picking for the same position, or is it you're just going to pick a player from that position to fill one of your spots? Let's do it that way.
So role for position, and then who we pick, we put into a specific spot of our choosing?
Yes. Actually, let me make another wheel here. Keep talking, Evan.
Did you know that...
Let's duplicate that tab.
I'm not good at stalling for time by talking. What is the deal with all of these kids today in baseball being named Carter? I picked up a pack of Team USA baseball cards on a whim while I was at Target the other day. And I opened a bunch of packs, and there's like a bunch of different kids named Carter. And I feel like, is this the name now that everybody names their kids? Like, you know how currently there's a bunch of Ryans. There are so many Ryans in baseball right now. Is Carter the next big thing?
Okay, I got my wheel.
How was that? How was my stalling for time?
Immediately went to the name Carter.
I was just looking around my recording space going, what can I talk about? What can I talk about?
All right. So for our first spin, so I'll share this tab. Are we ready? There we go. Spinning for the first position.
Oh, wait. Who goes first?
Evan does.
Okay.
You will be picking your manager.
All right.
And the manager will have to be... Oh, you're getting a first baseman, second base.
Oh, I knew exactly who I would have picked for a first baseman.
Second base manager.
And so just to be clear for our listeners at home, this is someone who has played for the Rockies. They have to be a former player.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything from 1 game to 2,000 games. 1 game to 17 years.
This is actually kind of a tough one because I actually...
And they can still be playing in the game currently.
So. You know what? Jamie Carroll.
Oh.
Respected in the clubhouse when he was here. Has coaching experience at Northwestern.
Not too shabby.
I will name Jamie Carroll my manager.
And I have to make sure I put the position down. Okay. Now we see what I'm picking for. I'm picking my bullpen coach. And there's the caveat with this game. You could get catchers or pitchers are usually your bullpen coach. When's the last time you ever heard of a regular position player as a bullpen coach? No!
This wheel is weighted.
No, geez. Second base bullpen coach. Who has pitched for the Rockies that was a second baseman?
I actually have an idea for this one for you.
Oh, no. I'm trying to think.
You could pick Daniel Descalso.
Oh, there you go. Gosh. Part of me doesn't. Didn't Alan Trejo pitch once?
Alan Trejo has indeed pitched.
Oh man. Oh wait. No, never mind. He wasn't that good. I was gonna say Charlie. I almost said Charlie Culberson.
I actually have a pretty solid idea for you here.
Oh no.
Should I give you the hint?
No, I have to sit with this out of my own hubris from this dumb idea.
Your hubris, your arrogance.
Oh gosh. This is awful. Why did I come up with this?
The worst part is I have the perfect pick who fits in these parameters.
No, you don't.
I do. I legitimately do.
No. I'll just pick somebody just for the heck of it.
No, you have lost.
Oh gosh. Bullpen. What? No. Bullpen. Fine, we'll just go with Descalso.
Are you sure?
What the heck?
All right. You're committing it down?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to know who I would have suggested?
No.
You sure?
Do it.
Tony Wolters.
Did he ever play second base for the Rockies?
He did. More than once.
Good for him.
All right. My turn. Spin that wheel.
Oh, sorry. Let me share this tab.
You have control of the wheel.
You're going for your pitching coach.
All right. Pitching coach. And
pitching coach with, oh, please give us a different position.
Oh, thank God. I was legitimately like, this wheel waited.
I would take out second base at that point. Third base.
Like, no more. I've had enough.
Your third base pitching coach.
We were just talking about this before we started recording, and now I can't remember who I mentioned. Who is the third baseman?
That would be a good pitching coach.
That has played for the Rockies. Let's go with. All right, I got a fun one, and he even pitched for the Rockies. That would be third baseman Todd Zeile, who logged one scoreless inning of relief in 2002.
Should have clarified if we're doing like immaculate baseball rules where, he played there once, so
I'm kind of working on those rules just for fun, but
I was just saying like primary stuff. But whatever.
Hey, Todd Zeile was primarily a third baseman. Actually, honestly, pretty good with pitch recognition. He was an okay defender, had a very long career. Nice guy too. I like Todd Zeile. I think he would make a good coach, so I'm happy to have him on the team.
All right, I'm picking my first base coach. And first base coach. This one will be a little bit better. Please don't give me pitcher. No pitcher, no pitcher, no pitcher, no pitcher. Oh gosh, second base.
A second baseman again. But this one I feel like is a little bit easier.
Yeah. You know what I want to do? Ooh, you know what? We're going Eric Young, baby.
That's a very good choice. On account of he's done it.
Yeah. Even though Don Baylor absolutely hated his defense.
Don Baylor hated a lot of things. Let's be clear with that. He was a grump.
Yeah, Eric Young, I feel like that's a good choice. He's done it. He's experienced doing it. Help out. He can work with my outfielders or my infielders. I have that choice. I can pick and choose. So I'd probably have him work with the outfielders. He wasn't a very good second baseman.
All right, my turn. Spin that wheel, baby.
Oh, I should have removed some of these.
If it lands on something I don't already have.
Yeah. Bench coach.
All right.
Going your bench coach who's going to work with Jamie Carroll. No. Oh my gosh. I'm about ready to take off second base.
Kaz Matsui.
That's pretty good.
Guy who has experience working with Jamie. Has coaching experience. He's coaching over in Japan right now.
There you go. All right. Here I go. My next position will be bench coach for me. I do not have a manager. So I will go my bench coach.
Swear to God, if it lands on second base again, we need to.
Oh, it's going to. Oh, first base. First base.
Oh my
base.
God. It legitimately, it is on second base.
Do I need to take second base off this wheel?
I would say this is
my third second baseman.
I would say since both of us have had to do at least 2 second basemen, I would say remove second base from the list. Or instead of removing it, give yourself a mulligan spin.
I will do that.
I will.
Are there any second basemen that I want?
I can think of a couple.
I could think of one. Mark Ellis.
Interesting. Explain your reasoning.
I always liked Mark Ellis. Just a good little solid second baseman. Veteran dude. I liked Mark Ellis.
Played most of his career with Athletics, right?
Yeah, and then
he was only here for a year,
like half a year. We got him in the summer, and he had a really good year. And then he went to the Dodgers for his last couple of years and did pretty good there. I like Mark Ellis.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Now for Evan. Okay, just to recap, Evan has his manager, bench coach, and pitching. I have bench coach, bullpen, and first base. My first.
So do we want to remove the tabs for ones we've already drafted? I feel like that'd be too annoying.
It will be because I have the one wheel.
Yeah, just go ahead and spin, and then if it lands on something we already have,
either spin
again.
How
about if it lands on something you already have? Wild. That's when. All right. So this is my special assistant or general coach.
Yeah. And here we go. I guess it does. Yeah. Well, let's see. Spinning the wheel. Oh, it looks like a catcher.
Special assistant to the manager, Tony Walters.
There you go.
Who, for his specific role, I will name catching coordinator.
There you go. It's not too shabby. All right, now for me, as we try to pick up some speed here. Second base.
Finally getting your skipper.
There's my manager, who will lead my Rockies and his team of second basemen. I swear. Okay, first base.
So what's funny is I actually know exactly who I would pick if I had a first baseman as the manager. And I don't think it's who people think it would be.
Yeah, because I'm actually not going to pick Todd Helton. Because as nice as that would be, I just don't think he's the type that would want to manage.
Mm-hmm.
He's like kind of a quieter manager type of guy. He doesn't want to be in that rigorous role every day.
Yeah. And the big thing is we're trying to keep this realistic. We didn't really name that out in the rules, but it's not going to be like my manager is Todd Helton and his bench coach is Larry Walker and our pitching coach is Mariano Rivera.
But I'm trying. Oh no, the big cat would have been cool, but no, he's got too much going on in his life. Honestly. Oh, I could always say Larry Walker, but but you know what? Mark Reynolds.
That is not who I would have picked, but that is a legitimately very good choice. I would say he's on my short list for first baseman who I think would make okay managers. I would have picked Justin Morneau.
Oh, yeah, he would have been a good one. Honestly, Ian Desmond probably wouldn't have been bad either.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple of guys.
Cuddy also.
Gosh dang it. Why didn't I think of Cuddy? No. Cuddy would have been my number one pick. Oh, well.
Would you like to change to Cuddy?
Can I?
Yes, you may change to
Cuddy is my buddy. We'll get my mulligan on my first base role. Yeah, Cuddy. I completely forgot about Cuddy because I was thinking of him as a right fielder. But no, he played a good bit of first base too.
I'm ready for my buddy Cuddy.
Yeah, I'm getting Cuddy.
Michael Cuddyer.
Yeah, because he's managing Team USA under 18.
Which is so cool.
I like Cuddy. He'll like stuff on Twitter when I ever mention or tag him. He'll like stuff. All right, next for Evan. We have our managers. We have our bench coaches. Evan needs bullpen, first base, and third base. I need pitching coach, third base, and my general assistant.
Spin that wheel again.
One spin, and then we just move one block. Looks like the closest one's going to be pitching coach.
I already have a pitching coach.
Oh, no. Yeah, here we go again. I guess I can take off some of the stuff that we both have already. Yeah, so we both have a manager. We both have a bench coach. Okay, that should help. Oh, gosh. We'll just put it on bullpen. Or you can pick which one do you want to fill.
Pick between the three.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with bullpen.
Okay. So Evan's picking for bullpen. This is riveting end of podcast.
I don't know. I'm having fun.
Oh man, move to third base. Move to third base. That's second base. Do you want to spin again?
Yes, give me another spin. I swear to God, if it lands on second base, I'm going to tear my hair out.
Oh, outfielder.
Interesting. Outfielder. We said we're trying to keep it realistic. Give me oh, this is a tough one right here.
Mm-hmm. Like, because they don't have to have pitched. It's just who do you think would be a good coach that would help relievers attack hitters? That's why they have catchers.
You know what? No, or do I want to save him? Because I have a guy who I know is a good coach. Give me Gerardo Parra.
Gerardo as the bullpen coach.
Fun fact, Gerardo Parra, I believe, has pitched for 3 different teams in his career.
Good for him. All right, I have removed bullpen coach from the wheel. So here we go for me. Wahoo! Ooh. All right, here's going to be my random wild card.
Your special assistant to the manager/general manager.
You know what? I'm bringing in Carlos Gonzalez, baby.
It's a good choice.
Oh no, never mind. Hold on. I have to spin for the position. Oh no, I've wasted.
So he'd like
outfield,
to bring in Carlos Gonzalez, but
outfield,
will he be
outfield,
able
outfield.
to?
No,
No, he won't.
I will not. Instead, I will bring in Yorvi Torrealba.
That's also a really good choice, though.
And kind of in the same role as you, kind of as that catching coordinator.
All righty. So I only need base coaches now.
Yes, so let me take this off, and I'll leave the wild card on. That's all good. All right. Getting down to the wire, we have 2 positions each to get. Evan will go for the third base coach.
All righty.
Come on, second base.
No.
Come on, second base, baby. Demets. Give me Demets.
No.
All right, outfielder. Third base coach.
Question is, do I want to be the first one to name a current player?
You can if you want.
I'll keep it realistic and we'll pick a guy who is retired. For my third base coach, give me Matt Holliday.
Holiday. Interesting pick. Which is he going to focus on?
He can work with the outfielders, but my big thing with Holliday is that while he was never the fastest, he was always a competent base runner. Mm-hmm. He could read base running really well, and he even had a couple seasons, mostly with the Rockies, where he had double-digit steals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sneaky good. I am picking now my pitching coach. Here we go, baby. Give me a pitcher.
Love the Mets.
Oh, no, a catcher. This won't be too bad. You know what? Give me Chris Iannetta. I think he wouldn't be a bad pitching coach. Catchers probably would be, if you had to pick a position player pitching coach.
Yeah,
the catchers are probably
I think you'd want a catcher.
Like they've done it before.
All righty. And my last guy, my first base coach.
Okay. I was about to go over to the other wheel, but here we go. First base coach.
No longer necessary.
Final pick. 1 second baseman for the road.
Oh, my dear Lord.
Third base.
Third base? It's actually landed on third base?
Yeah, that is on third base.
Jeff Cirillo.
Ooh.
So my coaching staff is made up almost exclusively of second and third basemen. I have 2 second basemen, 2 third basemen, and 2 outfielders.
Mm-hmm. It turns out this wheel was not the best.
It's rigged.
It's all good. All right, now my third base coach. Give me that outfielder, baby. Okay. I have a decision to make here for my outfielder. No. Oh, this could be a tough one. There's so many outfielders that I could do. Oh, you know what? Give me old Dexter Fowler.
That is a solid choice. One Mr. Sexy Dexy.
I thought about Cargo, and I was like, I think Dexter would be a better, just overall third base coach. Good runner on the bases. A good outfielder in that in center field. Had that good. I think he'd do good. A nice charismatic guy. Either one probably would have been good, but I think Dexter would be good.
I think that's a solid list.
All right. Yeah, my coaching staff with the
Your
one mulligan of Michael
2025
Kadire.
Colorado Rockies coaching staff as determined by fate for Skyler Timmons.
We've got Michael Kadire as my manager, Mark Ellis as his bench coach, Chris Iannetta is the pitching coach, Daniel Descalso is my bullpen coach. Eric Young at first, Dexter Fowler at third, and then Yorvi Torrealba just helping out where he can.
And then your 2025 Colorado Rockies coaching staff as determined by fate for Evan Lang. Manager, Jamie Carroll. Bench coach, Kaz Matsui. First base, Jeff Sorello. Third base, Matt Holliday. Pitching coach, Todd Zeal. Bullpen coach, Gerardo Parra. And your special assistant to the general manager and catching coordinator, Tony Walters.
If we ever do this again, we'll have some other caveats and actually have a pitcher's wheel for those pitching positions.
Let's do, not as a mulligan, but just real quick. If you got to pick a pitcher for your pitching coach and bullpen coach, who would you pick?
Jeff Francis is my pitching coach. And then bullpen, Adam Ottavino.
Similarly, I would have gone for bullpen Scott Oberg.
Oh, yeah.
And for pitching coach Aaron Cook.
Mm-hmm. Honorable mention, I think Matt Belisle would be a good bullpen coach as well.
I agree with that. I think he would. I also think a sneaky, interesting pick for a pitching coach at some point could be Pedro Estacio.
Pedro.
He's been doing a lot of work down in the DSL with the Rockies.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
But that's our game. A little bit of spinning the wheel of fate to think about what could be. Will either of these coaching staffs happen? Absolutely not. But all we know is that will Bud Black be back as manager next year? Maybe.
Oh?
We have literally no idea. But thank you so much for listening to Affected by Altitude. We always appreciate you tuning in. You can find me on Twitter at Evan_Lang27, and you can also find me writing for www.purplerow.com with the Monday Rock Piles and the occasional Pebble Report and minor league content during this off season. You can also find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on your favorite podcasting platform of choice, including Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, all of that. And you can find us on social media and YouTube at Rocky Mountain Rooftop. That's at ROCKYMTN Rooftop. Skyler, where can we find you?
Find me over on Twitter at sideline_crowd. You can see the tagline there on the video on YouTube. And then you can find me over at Purple Row on Wednesdays, right in the Wednesday Rock Piles. Check out our Ranking the Rockies series. That's happening right now, and we'll run through December because we got 50 some odd Rockies to write about this year. And then find me over at fansfirstsports.com.
All righty. Well, once more, thanks again for sticking in. It is a long off season ahead of us, and we will try and keep you entertained as the days pass by into the cold, dark of winter. And Skyler is showing us a doodle.
A drawing of Batman I did in high school.
And Skyler is showing us a drawing of Batman he did in high school. This is some
very
special video-only content that you can only
terrible.
find posted on youtube.com/@Rocky Mountain Rooftop.
It's true. My name is Bruce Wayne, and I am an orphan. I was born in 1996 in the material world of our home, Wayne Manor. My parents seem a distant memory. After what happened, I shut out most of my ideas of them, save what I wanted to remember. That's just a little intro to my 4-part Batman movie.
A 4-part Batman movie.
It was a quadrilogy.
When I was little, I always wanted to be a Batman.
Yes, Mike Ehrmantraut. But farewell! This has been Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast with Rocky Mountain Rooftop, a proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. Catch new episodes every Monday on wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Be sure to follow us on YouTube as well for video versions of the show.